Hey, sorry for the interruption, but we wanted to let you know that this week's episode is brought to you by Spotify for Podcasters. Really cool app. Josiah and I use it for every single show that we bring to you every week. You can edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so you can start creating as soon as you log into the platform. You can easily distribute your podcasts to Spotify and everywhere else the podcasts are heard, just like we do every single week. You can also create video podcasts on Spotify, which is really cool. And of course, you can earn money like I'm doing right now by including ads and even podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free. There's no catch. We really love it. We use it every single week. So we encourage you to go download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. All right, let's get back to the show.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. Each week, join Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print-on-demand industry and equip you with the tools, advice, and strategy you need to achieve success and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now, on to this week's show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Print on Demand Cast. Welcome back to Travis's backyard. I say welcome back, you've never been here before. Welcome to Travis's backyard. As you can see, things are a little different. I thought we'd kind of post up, try to do a fire. When I tell you that this whole set has gone through multiple iterations,
You're not kidding.
Lying. We tried a lot of different stuff. We tried to be cool and have a fire pit. Logistically, it just didn't work, and the sun is going to disappear. So we thought we'd make the best of what we have and have some cigars, have some whiskey,
yes,
and talk some print on demand.
As a matter of fact, this podcast is brought to you by Stranahan's, the original single malt whiskey of the Rocky Mountains.
Yes, delicious.
Love
me some Stranahan's. Travis, how's it going? And thank you for opening up your casa, your abode.
You're welcome. I mean, you texted me earlier today and you said, I don't have a place to record because my new office doesn't have walls. So
it's true.
I took pity on you and opened up my home here. We had dinner with my lovely wife and my children earlier. And so here we are sitting down in the backyard. When are you going to have walls?
Soon, hopefully. Not soon enough, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, I had to pivot a little bit. I had plans to record there in the office, and then Jason was like, "Hey, we have a second shift person coming in tonight," and I was like, "Oh, so I guess I'm not recording."
You're kicked out.
I'm not here, so I'm kicked out. But a little piece of insight, kind of behind the curtain for all the people. This is the backyard where the POD cast was born. This is where we sat over there at that fire pit that we tried to implement for this.
You can't see.
For this broadcast, and talked about what we wanted the POD cast to be. So I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
a little trivia. For the people.
Almost 50 episodes in, and we're kind of back to our roots.
That's right.
But things have changed on the Print on Demand Cast. There are new things afoot.
There are many new things coming at the 1 year mark, which we're I think 4 episodes away from 52, which is that's the 1 year.
That snuck up on us.
It is. Yeah, wow. It was quick. I did not see that happening that fast for some reason. But yeah, new things are happening. New things afoot. There's a new aesthetic, perhaps some merch.
Yep.
We'll see what happens, but we're very excited to bring that to you guys. So we're not going to give too much away.
You're right.
Going to have some surprise. There's going to be some mystery left in this world. So before we go any further, Travis, you brought it to my attention. We said it was going to be a weekly segment, but then we actually put in an episode without that weekly segment in there. But this week's dad joke of the week.
Time for the weekly dad joke.
What's the dad joke of the week this week, Josiah? Get a nice puff on that cigar. I'm going to take a sip of this Stranahan's whiskey.
I recently took a poll and found that 100% of people are angry when the tent collapses. And that's been this week's dad joke of the week. So last week's episode, Travis, we had Cole Lundstrom on talking about screen printing. It was a little deviation from what we usually do, only because we never had a screen printer on.
Right, yeah.
So that was the first of its kind here. But at the end of that interview, things were kind of hustle and bustle over there at his his storefront there, because he was going to a Women of Weed event.
I know.
There in Los Angeles, which there's only a few places in the nation that could happen, and Colorado and California are at least one of, or two of those locations. It happened in California.
That's right.
But you reached out to Cole because you wanted to know if there was anything that might be worth sharing about this Woman in Weed event.
That's right. Yeah, I just sent him an email and I said I thought it'd be really funny to kind of follow up with that, because that's such, we don't have a lot of guests on our show that are going to Women in Weed events.
No,
to print merch. I mean, and that's what he was doing basically. He was going there to kind of be the merch provider at the event, and they had, they basically did live screen printing. So they had their pre-printed screens that they brought there with a manual press, and they set it all up. And so I emailed him and I asked him, how did that go? It might be funny to follow up on the podcast. So I literally copy and pasted it into our show notes here. I'm going to read it to you because it was really funny. He said, the 2 events went really well. The funny part, though, was that people were so high, they walked up, ordered at our station, then they would just wander away without their shirts because they literally forgot why they were standing there. We had 27 shirts at the end of the night from people that just ordered and walked away stoned.
That is hilarious and not all that surprising.
Right, exactly.
Should you have ever dabbled in the ganja? That lost time is a real thing. So I can understand why people would be like, yeah, I'll have that shirt. And then they're like,
why am I here again?
I had a bag of Doritos, and they just walk away for no reason. But that is hilarious, Cole. Thank you for that update. Glad to hear that everything went well, and hopefully you found a home for those 27 shirts that belong to stoned people who just randomly walked away. So we're going to go into something, Travis, this week's point of interest.
The point of interest. The part of the show where you may discover something that you were not previously aware of. It's the point of interest.
A little bit different because we have a contest.
We do.
We have the Vexels contest to decide who is the winner. Travis, how many entries were there when it was all said and done for this contest?
At the end, there were 5 people that either bought an annual or a lifetime membership to Vexels. And one of those people is going to get their entire registration or their entire subscription fee refunded. So we've got Timothy, Charles, Anthony, Lars, and Christopher.
Yes. So first of all, guys, thank you so much for participating in the contest. And congratulations, because Vexels is awesome. So I'm excited to see what it can do for your business. And please, printonamanCast.com/Facebook. Let us know the things that you do, how you implement, how you use that resource in your business. We're very excited to hear about it, but we're even more excited to give something away.
That's right. So good luck to you
refund
5
away. So we've entered the 5 names in this handy dandy website called commonpicker.com. And we're not sponsored by Square, but they are.
But they are.
So what we're going to do here is we're going to hit start. We're going to pick a random name.
Scroll up and show them that we entered them all in.
Oh, that's right. I got to delete my name. Just
there they are.
There's all the names that we said would be there. We didn't want to dox anybody and put last names and addresses.
Right.
That's just for us. So we're going to scroll down and hit the pick a random name. We're going to hit the start button. So here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Good luck.
Who's it going to be? Timothy! All right, Timothy, congratulations on your winning the contest.
Yeah.
Very excited for you. So, Travis, what's next for Timothy? What does he need to do?
So, basically, what'll happen is I'm going to contact Vexels tomorrow. So you might actually find out that you won before this. That's going to be anticlimactic.
Yeah, can we delay that?
I don't know, man. They asked me for the name like last week. I don't know.
Well, Timothy, pretend you're surprised.
Yeah.
Everyone else will be surprised and jealous. But you can feign excitement, please.
Exactly. So I'll send them the name, and they will reach out to you. If you haven't heard anything, within the next week, which I can't imagine. They're very attentive over there. If you haven't heard anything, please reach out to us, info@printondemandcast.com. We'll make sure that you have your full, I'm not sure if you got the annual or the yearly or the lifetime, but whichever you got, it's free, man. So
I hear the annual and yearly are the same thing.
Do you?
Yeah, little bird.
Huh.
That one.
That one.
Told me. Congratulations again, Timothy. And Travis, you were saying if people still want to leverage this opportunity to at least get Vexels to resources, they can still do that. They just won't get a cool contest and their name won't be in a random name pick.
Right. I don't even know if our website is still up there, but we will confirm that before. In the show notes, you can still go to Vexels.com. We still have an affiliate link if you're interested in even just getting on the monthly plan and just testing it out. That's totally fine. Either printondemandcast.com/Vexels. If they've taken that down, we will relink that to our just the basic standard page that you can go to and check that out. So printondemandcast.com/Vexels.
All right. And that does it for this week's Point of Interest. Again, Timothy, congratulations.
Yep.
It's about time for the thing you've been waiting for, the main event.
All right, Travis, main event time for this week's episode. And you were talking about, you went on the group and you had kind of welcomed some of the newer members of the Facebook group.
Yep.
And while we were talking just before dinner, because we planned these topics so far in advance.
Weeks.
About 3 hours, actually. So
we
were
months.
Years.
Yeah, we were talking about, remember the whole fire pit thing over here? Yeah. That's when we actually talked about this very show.
Yeah. It was before time.
Is my nose growing?
Predestined. A little bit. It's about past your bill. So we wanted to talk about something because we realized that, someone had commented on the welcome post and said that they're just starting out. And so we're like, man, what are some things that we wish we would have known when we were just starting out?
Yeah.
For you, how long? For me, for us in the print on demand space, at least it's been, I think, 3 years. For you,
3-4 years.
4 years, about the same. So if we could go, back in time, hop in the DeLorean and fire up the gigawatts and tell 3 years ago, Travis and Josiah, some things, what would be like the top 6 things that we wish we knew before we entered the print on demand space?
Well, the very first one is not even on our list. I would say immediately subscribe to the Print on Demand cast and go leave a 5-star review.
That's actually a very strong recommendation.
Right? I mean, why wouldn't you?
I don't know why you wouldn't. And then 4 years ago, Josiah and Travis wouldn't have been able to find it, but they would know. They would come across. It would be prophetic in a sense. But yeah, seriously, if you're just starting out and you're listening, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
You are part of the reason why we started this podcast, because when we were in your shoes, we wished we had a resource like this to leverage and glean off of to kind of avoid some potholes. So this episode specifically is going to be 6 things we wish that we would have known that now you will know and even have a head start on us from 3 years ago.
Right.
And we are very excited to see where this print on demand journey takes you. So the first thing, Travis, I would say is treat it like a business before it becomes a business. I know for you and I, we both started these things out of our properties or houses.
Yeah.
And there is this weird thing sometimes when you work from home that no matter what you do, it just feels like a hobby because you're not, there's no commute, there's no office, there's no,
you're at your house.
You're just, there's no, you just feel like you're always at your house. So what would you say, treating it like a business before it becomes one, how would have benefited you 4 years ago?
I think, I obviously had, I'm going to back up even further to when I actually started just selling online, because when I was first selling online, I think part of treating it like a business is getting that business checking account. Don't run it through your personal, thing. There are enough tax benefits to having your own business. I mean, go to your state website, your Secretary of State website for your local, for your state, and see what it takes to start a business. And a lot of places it's like $10, $15, $20, something like that. You start a business, you get what's called an EIN number. It's an employee identification number. And then you take that and you can start a business. And then what you can do on your taxes is you can get deductions. So, if you use internet for your business. That is technically a deduction. Now, you're going to need to, we're not tax experts and we don't pretend to be, but you can get deductions on those things. You can get deductions if, on a lot of kind of things that you would already use anyway. And all of a sudden it's pre-tax money that you're paying that with, which is really, really an awesome benefit that we have, specifically in the US. Obviously, I don't know how it is overseas, but in the US, we have this amazing ability to really save a lot of money in taxes because of having a business, but you got to do it right. So that's like the first part. But you were kind of talking about more like how to treat it in your personal space and your personal life and how to maybe even like plan set hours, like I'm only going to work from this time to this time, but I'm going to work during this time and this time. And I'm not going to be checking Facebook unless I'm searching, looking for an answer to a problem I have or something like that is directly related to what I'm doing. But really treating it like a business, like these hours are going to pay you in the future. A lot of times we go to a job and we punch the clock or whatever, and we work our hours and we're done. And we got paid for all of those hours, the exact same amount. Yeah. With a business, with any business, but particularly with a print on demand business, you're not going to see that money coming in for quite a while. Sure. But the more time that you put in now, the more money you're going to get later. Yeah. And that's guaranteed because you work once and then it pays you I have mugs that have made me thousands of dollars. Thousands and thousands of dollars. That took me, 10 minutes to design and another 10 minutes to put on Amazon or Walmart or whatever. Right. So think in those terms and really set yourself up for success with your schedule. I don't know. Are there some other things you're thinking of too?
That would definitely be my thing for sure, because as I alluded to when we first started talking about this, it's easy to feel like, especially if you're just working from home, which that's how a lot of it starts. You're starting a print-on-demand business, you're probably running a lot of it at your house, or you're drop shipping a lot of stuff, outsourcing everything. So it can feel like it's not a big boy business as a term that we use frequently here on the show. Right. But it is important to delegate and to assign your hours and to work like those. That's like it's your actual, like you're working for someone else, because the reality is, what is that saying? Entrepreneurs are the only people that will work 80 hours a week to eventually only work 4 or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, so you're setting yourself up for success. You're paving the road for the people that you will hire eventually in your business as it begins to expand, but then you get to have the benefits of, well, now you're owning and now you can set your own schedule. And so it's a long-term investment, and nothing about the print on demand space is a get rich quick scheme. And if you see something like that on a Facebook ad, I would just click the other way.
Yes, exactly.
Basically. So I think that's one thing to keep in mind too. The next thing, Travis, what you brought up, the first thing you said when we were making this list, SKUs are important.
SKUs are important.
Why are they important? And is there a strategy to naming your SKUs in the most effective way?
Yeah, we did an episode quite a while ago. I think it was episode 10 when I talked about kind of my back end process of like how I hold my designs and how I name my SKUs. Sure. And that's something that I wish I would have done right from the beginning. And the reason for that is simple. Like, as much as you can be organized in the beginning, you will thank yourself 1,000 times over in the future. It's kind of that same concept of like, it's one of those things. I wish I would have known when I started, make sure all those SKUs are in a spreadsheet. Make sure they're all linked to the designs that are associated with those SKUs. Make sure you have the titles to all the different things, all of those things that you're going to eventually need to find. It's one thing when you have 50 designs. Sure. It's another thing when you have 50,000.
No, that's true. You have to think of scalability on a lot of this stuff, because when you're starting out, and I'm guilty of it as well.
So am I.
You have a half-assed system that works when you have 50 SKUs. Yeah. And then you're trying to make that work when you've got 5,000 and 50,000. So you have to have something with scalability in mind, knowing that you're going to have to kind of revise it and revamp it, but keep in mind that it's a living, breathing thing, and you need to keep in mind that it's going to get bigger. Yeah. So that's definitely.
And then one other thing I'll say about that is that if you've already started and you've already established kind of a system, because we established a system for our stuff. And then when we had a few hundred I established it because I was like, oh, I can't just keep doing this and, just saving them as the, in Dropbox as the name of whatever design. I need a system. So I quick created one. And at about 1,000 products, I realized, oh, this system is not adequate for what I'm going to need. And so I had to go back to the drawing board, but I had 1,000 listings that I had to like go through and like change and put in different places and link the art in different ways and all of that. And I'm so glad that I did that at 1,000 and I didn't wait until I had 10,000, or 5,000 or whatever, or even 2,000. I mean, just rip off the Band-Aid as quickly as you can to get organized.
Yeah, you'll thank yourself. I've been rewatching How I Met Your Mother, and this ties in. So I've been rewatching it, and there's one episode in particular when they're talking about a problem that they have, and they decide unilaterally, well, you know what? That's future Ted and future Marshall's problem. Let them worry about it. And then when it comes up, they're like, oh, past Ted and past Marshall really screwed us on that one. So future you will thank you for establishing those things. Do not just say, well, I'll do it when I have to. If you do things preemptively, you will break your arm patting yourself on the back for doing it the right way from the outset, for sure.
Totally.
Travis, what's next, man? What's another thing you wish you knew going into this whole business model?
Yeah, I think particularly for the drop shipper, when you're looking for a supplier, I think something that I didn't necessarily really focus on, but samples matter. Make sure that you know what your customers are getting, because if you skip that step, you just never know what kind of angry emails you're going to get from your customers. And so, it depends on, it doesn't depend on what you're selling. It depends on who's printing it. I mean, I've printed my own coffee mugs. I've printed my own shirts. I've also had outsourcers do it. And I'll get returns of certain things occasionally. And those products that I outsource look totally different than when I was doing them myself. Not necessarily good, better or worse, but I'm just saying they're different, which tells me that they're not, there's not only going to be differences in like the way they print them or whatever, but there could also be quality differences that could really screw me. When I'm using a new supplier and I just kind of go, oh, I want to add this new product to my thing. And there's only one person that sells it. So I'm just going to go ahead and make it live on my site and start selling it.
Right.
I've heard a lot. In fact, I remember Brittany Lewis coming on here telling us about somebody who they changed something on their website and it messed everything up. And so some of that stuff can happen, as well as like just quality issues. You need to know what kind of quality people have before you start putting your name on it.
Yeah, for sure. And you don't think that every shirt or every trucker hat is created equal either, because I know that Gildan soft styles fit differently than a Bella and differently from a Next Level. We recently had an incident with us where we were fulfilling some trucker hats, Yupong trucker hats by phone, and it turns out that there's a trucker hat shortage across the nation.
You know what we should call this section right here? Apparel rants.
Oh, we should.
Apparel rants.
We do have a bumper for that.
Yeah, we do.
All right.
It just played.
Oh, good.
Didn't you hear it?
I was going to tell you to hit it again.
Oh, okay.
Apparel rants.
So, apparel rants. There is. We're sneaking in another segment. It's like the Tonight Show. We're sneaking in another segment. There is a trucker hat shortage, specifically with Yupong. For some reason, I've been able to find some.
Is the same.
Richardson. I've been able to find some Richardson that's in stock. I've been able to find a brand called Value Cap.
I saw them.
They're actually
we've been looking around too.
Value Cap is like kind of like a white labeled Yupong.
Okay.
So it's really nice. I just got 450 of them in yesterday.
Wow.
Or it's Friday. So they're a good replacement. I did in a pinch order some Ouray. The Colorado Ouray. Ouray. How do you pronounce it? So language of origin, please. So we ordered those.
Did you see that? That was an owl.
Yeah, I thought it was going to take my cigar.
That was an owl
out of my hand. The more you know.
Sorry if it's getting dark. It's going to get darker.
Yeah, we're doing our best. We just had a damn nature you're scary moment. Owl almost took our head off.
Back to your Ouray.
Back to how you say Ouray.
Okay.
We had a bunch of orders piling up. Yupong was not available. Yupong, the manufacturer, has said we have 70,000 back orders, and we're not making any promises as to when we're ever going to make them available for the general public. So just so you're aware, so I ordered these Uray hats in a pinch, and didn't think anything of it. And then I tried them on a month after we had been sending just a plethora of them out.
Oh, no.
And I have a huge head. Another huge little bit of trivia for you guys watching and listening. So the fact that a hat doesn't fit me isn't weird. But this hat was like a yarmulke. And I knew immediately that there were going to be issues. And sure enough, our client that we were fulfilling was like, hey, you sent me a sample of this hat. Doesn't fit my head. What is happening? And I'm like, no. He's like, you gotta stop this right now. And I'm like, crap. So I had to go on a mad scramble. If I would have just gotten one in, test printed it, tried it on, sampled it, I would have avoided that issue. And yeah, I might have had a little bit of a longer lead time on these orders, but that's easier to manage those expectations than having people say, hey, my hat doesn't fit. I'm not a practicing Jew. I don't need a yarmulke. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this. So yeah, sampling is huge, and you find out sizing differences, quality differences. And like Travis said, if someone's drop shipping stuff for you, you want to check that out, because you might just be clicking on something on a website to drop ship, but is it poly dominant? Is it cotton dominant? You need to see how they print it. Is it quality? What does it look like? So sampling is not only for you knowing what your customers are getting, but even if you are fulfilling for people, we've talked about this before. Offering samples is also huge, because for the same reason, the client knows a little bit of QL, a little quality control. I don't know what QL stands for. QC, quality control, to make sure that everything is copacetic. Yeah. So samples are huge. Right. And you're welcome we crammed a segment into that one.
I know, it was awesome.
So it was really good. The next one, consider bringing things in-house when the volume justifies. Just consider it. Consider it. Travis, why would you have wanted to know that 4 years ago? Was it like you felt like you had to, if you drop shipped, you had to drop ship everything and not half and half, or what was that?
Yeah, I think for me it was kind of the opposite thing. I just started doing mugs, and I didn't really even know that there was options to do all of these other things until much later. And so I could say consider drop shipping if you're only doing one product. I think this can go both ways, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Sure. So if you're like just doing one product in your house, you're doing like vinyl or something with you got a Cricut, or something, and you're cutting some vinyl and that was a really smoky one. Thank you.
I know, you're welcome.
You're only doing that. Consider drop shipping. But on the other side, I think, when you're doing a lot of these products, I think you get so into like create more products, more products. Occasional. This is going to be for the person that wants to maybe make this more than just a side hustle.
Sure.
But I think, at some point it does make sense when you start getting the orders, you start getting kind of a name for yourself as somebody who can do things. It might make sense to start looking at, well, what does a machine to do this cost? And I could bring it in-house, because all of a sudden you gain all of the control.
Sure.
Over not only just the production process, but the sales process, really. The sales process, customer sign on the dotted line is going to be the same, but the customer experience can be very, very different if they're dealing with you directly as you are in the process of the production.
Yeah, and your margins will benefit.
Yeah, of course.
Bringing it in-house, right?
Yes.
So you're no longer utilizing a middleman. You're going, like, they're going straight to you, you're going straight to them, and it's a win-win. And like Travis said, the customer experience can be so much better, because if they have a question, film a question, quality question, you're not having to search answers from your drop shipper. You have the answers
right there. So immediately you can answer them.
Yeah. So quicker turnaround, quicker customer service. It's a really beneficial when that time comes. I'm sure there is a bar that you can probably assess Is it time to bring shirts in house? Is it time to bring mugs in house? Or, what does that look like?
And maybe just start with one thing. You don't have to bring everything in house at the same time. Maybe bring your best seller, because all of a sudden, you have this best-selling product, and all of a sudden your margins go way, way down. Yeah. And that may justify that next step in your business, journey, right, to where you could work a few less hours at your regular job, or even potentially even quit it. Yeah. If that's a goal, because production isn't, it's not magical. You still have to actually work. What? So you don't get to sit on the beach and
it's not self-print.
It is not. It is not self-print. It's that whole 80 hours to work 4 hours. Remember that. Remember that.
Okay.
Right.
So it's not automated completely. You have to actually be there and work it. This is news. I'm making notes. So the next thing, Travis, would be other POD sellers are not competition. We've talked about this, and it's one thing that I noticed first in the Amazon space. Yeah. I guess from the background that we come from, as far as we're both been worship leaders in the church world, and sometimes some people aren't as quick to share things that grew their team or congregation with other churches.
It's in every industry.
It's a weird, so Amazon, I noticed that there were a lot of people willing to give information to help you be successful. Yeah. In hindsight, it's, because not everyone acts on that information.
Right.
In this 1,000%. In this instance, while that is also a part of it, you realize that there's, like Travis and I, we have two completely different companies. We're doing a podcast together. But when I have a client that needs something laser engraved, I can ask Travis, hey, can you make this happen? What would the charge be? And I don't have to turn business away, because I don't view Travis as competition. He does things that I don't do, and vice versa, that we can help each other out with, and then everyone benefits, and you're not having to turn down business when you make connections at the trade shows or locally or Chamber of Commerce meetings, and you meet other people who can do things that aren't in your wheelhouse. Yeah. You can glean a lot off of them, not only experience-wise, but you can also immediately expand your product catalog.
Yeah, so there's a screen printer that has a shop on the way to my shop from my house, and I pass it almost every day. And I kept for months. I was like, I need to stop in there. And I finally did. I finally, pulled my car over. I had to go home for something, and I was coming back to the office. It's probably 2:00 or something in the afternoon. And I just stopped in and I talked to TJ at this screen print place. And we probably talked for 20-30 minutes. Wow. We exchanged business cards, and because he does embroidery. He has Melco machines. Nice. He does screen printing, of course. And then I think that was about it. But he does a lot of like applique that we talked about that Tate was experimenting with, like back of jerseys and stuff. And he has like some big contracts with the city of Broomfield, some of their football teams, their youth football teams and stuff. So he was actually in the middle of the process. He showed me all that stuff. So not a week later, I get a phone call from a guy. He's like, hey, I need, 10 wrestling shirts for this wrestling tournament that we're doing, but I need them like tomorrow. Is there any possible way you can get these for me tomorrow? Because I'm leaving town, at 4 p.m. tomorrow to drive up to this thing. And it so happened it was a slow week. We had the ability to do it. And so when he finally came to pick up the shirts, I said, so how did you contact us? How did you hear about us? He was like, oh, TJ over at the place, he couldn't, he's like 10 shirts isn't big enough for me to screen print. Plus I can't get them done in a day. I've got too many other things, but I know this guy who does DTG. He does a digital printing thing. Yeah. And here's his number. And he gave me his number. I didn't ask TJ to do that. Right. And that was a customer that he basically turned away and gave to me. Yeah. So we're not in competition with these guys. There is such a collaboration in the print on demand community. And you see it in all these different Facebook groups that are out there.
Yep.
So many people asking questions and helping people. I mean, that's one of the main reasons we've started this podcast was to collaborate, to get to interview people like Cole, who's doing, lots of business in a totally different industry. All the other interviews that we've had, all of these people that have unique experiences in print on demand and just apparel in general. It's been incredibly enriching to both of us personally and in our businesses. And I think that's what we mean when we say POD sellers are not your competition.
Sure. There
is a collaboration that can happen that's freaking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a paradigm shift from a lot of other industries. There's lots of, like my sister, she makes, really good banana pudding. And when someone asks for the recipe, she gives it to them and leaves out 2 of the key ingredients so they can never replicate her banana pudding. I know.
That hurts my heart.
I think it's a Southern thing. She lives in Alabama. But yeah, so a lot of businesses are like that. Well, kind of maybe, but I'm not going to give you all of it. And it's a paradigm shift that you have to have, and you'll definitely be the beneficiary of it. The next thing is keep your sales funnel filled. Keep fishing.
Yep.
I've been, when we first got our DTG printer, we were actually at SGIA in Vegas.
Oh,
remember?
Yeah. That was a fun show.
And I stayed up one night and built this dude's store because he had a podcast, and I'm a professional wrestling fan. So in the professional wrestling world, the guy he was doing a podcast with is really well known. And I had known other professional or podcasts in that same space that had done bonkers numbers with their merch. Because I knew people who were on the inside of the whole production. So when this guy's like, I took a swing, I randomly just said, hey, you have no reason to say yes, but give us a shot. He said yes. And I was like, in my mind, it was set. It was done. Whatever. This is it. First one.
Yay.
Boom. Nailed the big fish. And just like I'm sure all of you fishermen know, it doesn't matter how big the fish is. Eventually, your family eats all the meat, and you have to keep fishing for the next meal. And it was very much the same way, realizing that not all clients are created equal. And a lot, even in the TikTok space, the pattern is they hit for 2 or 3 weeks really heavy because it's new.
Yep.
But they don't know how to continue marketing, and the sales drop off a cliff.
Yep.
And you got to keep the sales funnel filled, because no matter what, there's going to be ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
So you constantly, even with us, we have a client that's doing really well, moving into a new space. We're still fishing, because that volume is going to fluctuate. So you have to keep it filled and realize that one client's not going to be the end all be all.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, it goes without saying that, in any sales training you'll ever do, they talk about your pipeline.
Yeah.
And they talk about making sure you have a pipeline, your pipeline is filled, or in the whole, the sales funnel that you have people at all the different levels of the sales funnel. You have them in the top where they're just kind of like thinking about it, maybe need something. And then they kind of enter that funnel, and they literally funnel down into actually making a purchase. Right. But you need people in all of those different areas at all times. And so you can't just focus all of your efforts on one part of that funnel. Because what'll happen is, as you can imagine, the rest of that funnel, if it doesn't have things coming down, eventually it'll dry up, and you don't have that continued business. I think that really does go without saying, but it's something that I don't know that I knew it as well as I know it now.
Sure.
Yeah,
it's one of those things like, well, yeah, of course, like I get it, but when you're in the moment and it's all new and it's a new venture, there's this tendency to just kind of, I got one client, he's doing good volume, and I'm set. I'm just going to ride this gravy train. And then, like you said, it all dries up. So you have to keep that funnel continually going, keep some stuff flowing through it at all times. Because otherwise you'll find yourself suddenly, your volumes, and sales is such a huge part of, especially if you are wanting to fulfill for other people. If you're just drop shipping and having people,
fill your own stuff. Yeah. That's a different thing.
That's different. But if you're trying to seek out people to fulfill merch for, that's a huge thing to keep in mind for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that, we've been doing these markets, these farmers markets. And one of the things somebody said to me today, actually, when I was on the phone with him, it was actually Uncle Mike. I was talking to Uncle Mike today, and he was saying, do you think that, that's going to dry up, and I had actually been thinking about that, we've done it I think we've done 2 markets 3 times both, and they've been really successful. We've made a decent amount of money, made a lot of contacts, got a couple wholesale orders, couple other kind of orders, have some people to follow up with. But it has occurred to me that right now we're kind of the new kid on the block. Sure. We've not been at these farmers markets before, and they're like, what was that? All right, good. Yeah. That's the right stuff.
Yeah, it is.
But once we're not the new kid on the block, no, not again.
Right. Stuff.
Okay. Once we're not, are people going to just walk on by us because they've seen us there? We're kind of, we're like everybody else. And so maybe the sales go down. Maybe, maybe that's not the case. Maybe there's enough new blood, at these markets and stuff. But it's definitely occurred to me that, if we're not maybe even looking at new markets, because then we would again be the new kid on the block.
Sure.
And we could go into those markets and maybe get some new, some new exposure that we didn't have from these other ones. So it's kind of a similar thing, with with keeping your pipeline filled. It's just like exploring new markets.
Sure.
Literally, So for example, if you're only selling on Amazon, maybe it's time to start looking at Etsy, or vice versa. If you're only selling on Etsy, maybe it's time to look into Walmart, or, some of these other channels, some of these other markets, to continue to grow your pipeline, and your sales ultimately.
Yeah. All right. So we have a bonus one.
Oh, a bonus?
A bonus.
Ooh.
A bonus thing that we wish, actually, we knew it, but we're going to talk about it anyway. If you're going to trade shows, if you're going to these conventions,
SGIA, which is Printing United now.
Yeah, Printing United. MBM is also something different.
What's the one in the one that we talked about in Long Beach, ISS, yes,
not ISIS.
No, not that one.
Nope, not
ISS.
Worst convention ever. Food was good though. So no, ISS. We're canceled. ISS. All of these different trade shows. Make sure you have a road wife. Yeah, see, that's what, even in the Amazon space. Travis refers to me as his Google. Travis, want to explain to the people why you call me your Google?
Yeah. So every time we're out and about, and particularly the one time that I think kind of the name clicked, we were in Wisconsin.
Yeah, we were in Milwaukee.
And we were in Milwaukee, and we had plans to do a business meeting, and then we were going to go to a Monday night football game at Lambeau Field, Green Bay Packers. And it was really a cool experience. It was super fun. Took a lot of pictures, took the tour the next day. If you ever do Lambeau Field, do the freaking tour. It's so worth it.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're in Milwaukee. We're, I don't know if it's pre or post meeting or whatever. We're hanging out, doing some stuff, going to some places and having drinks and whatever. And I say, I wonder how long it would take us to get to Lambeau if we just left right now, because the game was like the next day or whatever. And I just pondering that, and not 5 seconons later, my personal Google over here has it on his phone. He's like, it will take 1 hour and 46 minutes to get to the Lambeau Field from right here. And he does that all the time. I'll just randomly have a pondering, I wonder that.
I think we were in Vegas once. We were at Airbnb, and you're like, "Where it's going to be hot outside?" And I was like, "The high is going to be like 98, dude. So I should probably wear shorts or something."
Exactly.
So that again was another example of I don't know why. I just feel like I always tell my nieces and nephew this: if you have a question, it's nice that the answer is literally in your pocket. So just Google it. Travis and I have had a lot of road stories, road trips, moments. Any one that we feel, Travis, off the top of your head, that is at least semi appropriate,
safe for the podcast,
safe to share on the podcast?
I do remember that poor girl that was sitting eating nachos in front of us at the game. You remember her?
Yes. So we were at we stayed at the Airbnb called like the Park Shark, or the
Park Shark.
Yeah. In Wisconsin. The crazy thing about Lambeau, if you don't know, is it's literally in the middle of a residential neighborhood.
It's super cool.
There's just houses everywhere, and these people of course, to make money, Airbnb their houses out, and there's cars parked on lawns.
Yep.
I mean, it's nuts. So this place we're at, Park Shark, he has this big tailgate party at the beginning of the night. And there's I think there was moonshine soaked maraschino cherries that I remember having that were fantastic.
Yep.
So we start there, and then you just walk to the stadium because it's in walking distance.
Yeah, it's literally 300 yards from his front door. It's crazy.
It is 3 football fields away.
Yeah.
So it was a fun experience to play the Lions. Then I was a Monday Night Football game, having a good time. And this girl and her friend walk up and they sit in front of us, and we're watching the game. It's a little cold and having a good time. And this girl turns around and she looks at me and she goes, "What inning is it?" And I said, "It's the third quarter." And she said, "This is my birthday. It's my first NFL game." And I said, "It's a shame you're not going to remember it." and so she sits there for the night. Her friend leaves, and then Travis nudges me.
It's fourth quarter.
It's fourth quarter.
Yeah.
We're in the aisle, getting ready. The Packers had lost. Aaron Rodgers wasn't playing that night, which was a bummer. But you nudge me and tell them the scene that you see.
This poor girl had a plate of nachos or a box of nachos just sitting there, and she had kind of long hair, and she basically just had. It was almost like she had fallen asleep, and you can't see me in the dark here, but her face was down, basically in her not in her nachos, but just right there. And she was it looked like she was either very sad. She was just holding her nachos. Her face was down. She was either very sad or very passed out. I'm not sure which.
Either one, but we didn't know what to do, so we snapped a picture. So I feel like that was the only appropriate thing to do, because it was a funny sight to see.
It was.
And so that poor girl, hopefully she was able to at least recall me warning her that she wouldn't remember anything from that night. So
that's just one of the stories.
That was one of the stories that's palatable.
Yeah.
I feel like if we ever have any kind of bonus content paywall, we can maybe divulge some other stories.
I don't think people want to pay for that.
I think they do. I think people want to hear. I can hear Uncle Mike now asking us for more stories. So yeah, that's one. But yeah, no, this is fun. It's always fun to do stuff with people, with friends, and it's always better than doing it by yourself. And especially for Travis and I, the first trip to Portland we took. Which, do you remember the moonshine place in Portland that gave you, and the mason jars were that big?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
After we had the Mexican restaurant, and then we just kind of, because our favorite thing to do is just go find some bars,
just find some unique place that we obviously it's not a chain, we're not going to find it in Colorado, and we'd find this place. I remember that place. Yeah, I mean, there's so many stories like that. We would find these really amazing food, like the actual food, the Mexican food we had that night was outstanding.
It was so good.
So I think the point of this whole it kind of goes back to that whole you're not competition.
Right.
Because not only do we have all these fun stories and fun memories and stuff, we've had amazing conversations about kind of the what if of print on demand and what if of our businesses. And I wonder if this would work. And what do you think about this idea? And all of those things that wouldn't have necessarily happened had I been alone in a hotel room.
Right.
There's that cricket again.
Yeah, there it is. Cricketing away.
But thank you for turning on the light. By the way.
No, you're welcome.
Yeah.
So in fact, we met some awesome people in Vegas one time. Brian Clark and Apex, spinning down there in Utah. Fantastic people.
Great dudes.
That was a whole nother night that we'll maybe tell you a story another time. But it was fun. So I think, Travis, anything else that you can think of?
No, I think that's great. I think we've talked their ears off by now. Yeah. There's plenty of things that we could probably make a list of 10 or 20 things that we wish we would have known, but. I think, man, he really wants to get a hold of you, doesn't he?
He sure does.
Okay, well, you just tell him to wait. But that's the idea, is that, there's a million things that we wish we would have known. But if you, kind of start with these things, and then if you have other things that you wish you would have known, of course, we would love for you to go on to our Facebook group and share that.
Yes.
Facebook.com. No,
printondemancast.com/Facebook.
There we go.
Join the conversation. We tell you every week we want to have you guys there because, like we said, there's a lot of good conversations that can be had, a lot of tips and tricks and advice that can be had and that can be shared. So please do that. Also, as Travis said, the first thing that we would do, we tell ourselves in the past, is to go to PODcast and give it a 5-star rating. So please, if you've enjoyed this content, if you enjoyed this episode, it's been a little loosey-goosey and conversational. We've had a good time, pivoting.
Here we go. Pivot.
But it's been a good time. So go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review. It's always greatly appreciated. And as always, we are available on all the major podcast platforms. Wherever there's podcasts, the PODcast is there for you as well. So with that being said, until next time, guys, for Travis and Josiah, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week right here on the Print on Demand Cast.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you've got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next week.